Hey guys, Matt. This is a documentary I looked at a few years ago called 910, The Final Hours, and there are a few reasons why I'm looking at it again. First off, I caught 20 more things, at least, that I didn't catch the first time. Just creepy symbolism, linkages, predictive programming, actors, people in this video saying things that they couldn't possibly know. So it's almost when you watch this now, with our current understanding of the way things work, and we're still very far from having a full understanding, but we've come a long way. There's almost not a scene in this documentary where you can't get something out of it, or something doesn't pop out at you. So it's riddled with this sort of stuff. I'm only going to show you 20 or 25 things that I'm highlighting here. So it is worth watching, because I'm probably a few things that I missed. But what's really interesting is if you showed this video to the average guy or gal in the street, or a normal quote unquote person, we're not normal. I guess by definition we're not. But they would have no idea what I'm talking about. See, you'll see everything that I lay out. You might say, good catch, Matt. I probably wouldn't have caught that, but you'll understand everything that I'm saying. Where the normal person on the street will have no basis whatsoever to even attempt to interpret what I'm saying, and therefore they would conclude, because they would have no other choice. They would have no other choice but to look at a video like this and say to themselves, although this person seems to be somewhat sane and normal, he must be insane. See, simply because they can't see it, then whoever puts this type of information forth must be insane. And that's just the way of things going forward. As we see more and more, the way I went back at this documentary and I saw 20 more things, as we're putting more up on the table, we're farther and farther away from what the average guy or gal can ever see, understand, or interpret, because they don't even try. So we're growing farther and farther apart from them. Therefore, we must appear more and more insane. It's interesting. Nevertheless, I don't care what they think of me. I'm still going to present this, and I think even you guys will say there's some nice catches here, because I've been over this over the years about 5 times now, and it takes that much close attention to catch all of this stuff. This is absolutely unbelievable. There's so much here in this documentary that I just fall back onto this is some sort of Matrix illusory reality script, simulation of some kind. Because, okay, not only do you pull the events, or do they pull the events off, they code the events, and then when they make documentaries looking back at the events, it's riddled with this sort of symbolism. So again, I'm not sure we'll ever get to the bottom of it, but it's just fascinating exercise, at least trying to get to the bottom of it. So also try to throw some humor in. The new silver bullet of truth is humor, and although I probably won't pull it off, I'll try my best. Thanks, guys.
My name was Muhammad Atta. He gave me the room number.
Yeah, that dare Muhammad Atta was a bad man. Bad man. They should have made those box cutters legal a long time ago. Hey, Mary Ellen, they still legal in this country, box cutters? Do you know? I don't know. Ask Siri or something. Are they still legal, box cutters? They are? Shit. I don't think I'm gonna fly no more.
From Brazil. The concept was to have these two spirits dancing together in the cocktail.
Really? 2 spirits dancing together. There's the bottle. Twin Peaks. 2 Twin Peaks. What a coincidence to start the documentary.
The biggest challenge, of course, is trying to remember the day before an event that sort of wiped everyone's memory clean.
Look at the soulless creature when he glows when he recounts 9/11, and he says an event that wiped everyone's memory clean. Now, I don't understand the occult significance of what happened exactly on that day, but that's a reveal of some kind. I don't know if these creatures are even aware of what they're saying, but we've seen that theme over and over again. A day that reset time, wiped everyone's memory clean. I've heard people talk about this. Hurricane Aaron, the hurricane no one talked about, was making its way towards New York City. And on 9/10, it was the Twin Towers in this eerie, bizarre cloud. And you'll see coming up the associated thunderstorm. But this has been talked about, and it's probably not a coincidence.
11 news at 10, and I was the weeknight co-anchor along with the New York City veteran named Kaidi Tong. Good evening, everyone. Some very intense weather in our area tonight.
It was crazy, I'm telling you.
Being Channel 11, the station had for years used the Twin Towers as a sort of an 11. So that was always in our background. The was the weather.
2 buildings were hit by lightning in the city. Nobody was
The
hurt.
clock is ticking. With less than 24 hours to go until polls open, mayoral candidates pound the pavement.
When people hear my vision of focusing on the Twin Towers of my candidacy, and I hope my mayor...
There was a number of artists that actually worked directly with some of the office people and the corporate space. You know, one group of artists they employed 10 floors of the building or so and had different people put shades down so it spelled out a word.
You could actually really feel the movement of the building at times.
So the documentary introduces Jeffrey Konisberg, this creepy character who lives up on the 91st floor. The bells, the bells. This Konisberg character is creepy. I don't know what he is, but of course he was also at the Boston Marathon terrorist event. He was eyewitness to 2 terrorist events, of course, just like that kid Mason Wells, who was also in Brussels, and I don't know. You'll see these artists' studios aren't really studios. The documentary does a good job of showing us that.
I was 3 blocks away at the Boston Marathon. When you heard those blasts, everybody stopped. Everything went silent. There was thousands of runners right after the fact. Everything went silent and everybody looked in the direction. And
only one of those crazy conspiracy theorist assholes would actually try to make a connection between creepy artists running around with donated space on the 91st floor, lighting the face of the North Tower up with E-Team, and the exact spot where Muhammad Atta's Flight 11 supposedly struck the North Tower, right over the E-Team. There's nothing to see here.
I loved it. I thought it was amazing. It was raw, very dry. You could see all the insulation on the beams above. There was all these empty office spaces, and that's just fun to go through it and see if you could find stuff.
We used to go through other people's things and desks and see if we could find stuff. Thanks, Jeffrey. Let's just say the tenants here did move out. Would you leave it in that condition? Really? I don't know what to make of this. Just another aspect that makes no sense. Now let's introduce Muhammad Atta with the eye. We're all getting pretty tired of the eye symbolism. We're getting kind of sick of it. Go on to something else.
We say September 11th with glee. It was something we were looking forward to for months. We were like, can't wait till September 11th.
We're taking it back. We're at a big power. We're shaking it up. September 11th.
I want to be a metaphor.
So the day before he talks about the twin towers of his campaign, or whatever he said, then he uses the term ground zero. So what, you say? Nobody used the term ground zero before September 11th. It was an old term associated with the spot over a nuclear blast dating back to Hiroshima. Nobody used it. It's commonplace now, but only because of September 11th. This is the day before. Another creepy synchronicity? I don't know. Okay, let's keep humanizing the story. What was this NYU student doing the day before on 9/10? Let's see what she was doing. Well, it doesn't really matter as long as you focus in on a drawing that was in her apartment where this guy's choking a cat to death and he's about to stab it with a knife. And make sure you focus in on the shirt that says blood good, good across the belt. Yeah, that's normal in a documentary.
It was a gray, humid, heavy day.
Now we'll do a segment on the creepy dance ritual that was performed on a temporary stage at the foot of the Twin Towers on the day before. You have the black and the white duality, some creepy symbolic dance that I don't understand. I don't understand it, the occult nature of this creepiness, but I can see it and I can spot it.
When this sudden, amazing amount of rain that came down, and our stage manager says, well, thank you, that's it, no more.
We might not be right about everything. We might jump to conclusions too quickly, but the average person watching this won't even stop to think about most of the things that we look at. For example, who's filming this? Who's filming this from afar, the practice session for the dance? How convenient that when he comes in and says, cut, 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 whoever's filming this just focuses right on him saying cut at the throat. Yeah.
Went upstairs, there was no one there, started working.
What's that exit on the wall? There's no exit there. The elevators were in the center, the core inner columns. There's no exit there. Is that an exit for the jumpers? Yeah.
And have all these clouds like passing by every moment.
So that's the studio for the artist. Does that look like a studio? Where's the artwork? She'd been up there at least a year or more. Didn't even put a poster on the wall. First thing an artist would do, the first thing you do moving into a dorm in college, that's a studio. They want us to believe that's Monica Bravo's studio. An empty table with a chair or two chairs. But I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist for asking these questions.
But I kept on going that summer and there were no clouds.
She just said the entire summer in the Northeast there were no clouds. Like it's, the desert somewhere, or San Diego or Vegas. It's humid Northeast. Okay, maybe there were 2 or 3 nice weeks. There were clouds all summer long, Monica. But her whole premise of why they had to run up and do their creepy little thing the night before September 11th is she had to film the clouds and film the thunderstorm. Sure.
So I went right up to the window, and you're an inch away from the outside. We were inside the thunderstorm. There was lightning around us, and all these different colors of the clouds. When the lightning would, you'd get these glows, and you'd see the colors, and it was beautiful. It was really exciting. You were sort of in this maelstrom, but you were surrounded by silence at the same time.
To a Japanese restaurant called Neo on the Upper West Side, because my brother, who also worked at Cannon Fitzgerald, wanted me to go to this restaurant. And then we were going to the Michael Jackson concert, which was in Madison Square Garden.
Party on September 10th at Windows in the World was that I went solo.
So the story is the only artist that was killed decided to sleep in the Twin Towers, and the artist killed was the one that made a statue of a bunch of planes crashing into a pilot. You can't make this shit up.
And one thing I'll never forget is just seeing the two towers reflecting in her big brown eyes.
Bullshit!
It was like any other morning. I was working the front desk as a night auditor and checked out. His name was Muhammad Atta. He gave me the room number of 233 and I pulled up the information.
Now this part starts all the fake stories. Everybody that Atta and his crew associated with the night before in Portland, Maine, and at the airport, oh, they remember everything about him, checking him in. One guy remembers the bag. This woman remembers pulling up next to them at the airport. The person at Pizza Hut remembers them. Really? Give me a break.
Asked them, do you have any baggage to check? Atta said 2 bags.
And I looked at the name underneath it. It just had the letter M/ATTA, M Atta.
You know, the two gentlemen, the Middle Eastern gentlemen, come in probably 5-10 minutes before the flight was supposed to leave. Yeah, these guys were dressed just like a lot of the other folks.
And I got out of the truck, and a blue car pulled up behind us with the green Massachusetts license plates. The 2 gentlemen got out of the car, got their stuff out of the trunk. The passenger stood on the sidewalk. He had on a yellow jacket, and he just stood and looked out towards the planes.
So she gets all of this just from pulling up and unloading at the airport. She remembers Muhammad Atta, remembers the color of the car. It was a blue car with green Massachusetts plates. She gets the color of the plates, but she knows the state as well. She remembers what he's wearing. He was wearing a yellow jacket, and then he also was identified as the passenger, not the driver, by this woman. This woman should be not just work for the FBI, she should be promoted directly to special agent. To have this sort of recollection before 9/11 when nobody would be skeptical of anything. Can you name or even picture one person in your life you've ever seen unloading or loading bags at an airport? Go ahead. Think of anybody you've ever seen on the curb. You can't picture anybody, let alone the type of car they were driving, the plates, what he was wearing, and what he did. Oh, he was the passenger. He just looked out over the plains. I got to go back and listen to my Boston accent. It's good if I just hear it. I can't do it on the fly. He just stood out, and Muhammad Atta just stood out and looked over the plains. I know that. I don't know what accent that is. Name one airport, mega airport, where you pull up and you can see the planes and the runway and the tarmac. You can't. It's a building. So every bit of it is a lie. It's just a lie. It's a complete lie. It is amazing how many people they have involved in pulling all of this together. It's mind-boggling. It's a reality break. They don't really explain this, but I guess they're saying Muhammad Atta had a box cutter in his bag too, that he checked, that would have been under the plane. I mean, really? Come on, man.
Cutting our breakfast short, I said to Liz, why don't we just go down to the lobby and let me say goodbye to you formally in the lobby. And we were probably in the lobby no more than 15 or 20 seconds when the plane hit.
What a coincidence. He walked his guest all the way down to the lobby the moment the plane hit. I've had hundreds of meetings in corporations. Here's how many times I've been walked out to the lobby by the person I was meeting with. And not, this guy's the CEO of the trade towers. 0. I've met with pissant HR people. They won't walk me out. Nobody walks you out. It's total bull. And what a coincidence. Every single VIP just happened to be somewhere else that day. The entire Silverstein family was out. Marvin Bush was out. Jeffrey Wharton, he walked to the lobby. Come on, man.
September 11th was a special day because it was my son Kyle's first day of kindergarten. So my wife Allison and I decided to take him to his first day of school. So we took a picture right outside the building. It's about 8:46 in the morning because there's a timestamp on the photograph.
Sure, buddy. Make sure you tell us it was time-stamped so it's real. You know, I really was taking my kid to school. It was real. Didn't know about any attack. This is the part of the documentary where they say they found Muhammad Atta's bag that didn't make it on, the only bag not to make it on Flight 11. So they opened it up, and inside was a Quran and a letter about the jihad and all the evidence and box cutters, and it was just all right there. Case solved in the first hour. Here's a little bit of Monica Bravo's artwork. Just filming out the window. That's real art.
And actually the title is something that has been very, very impossible to translate because it's a saying in Spanish that translates something like, you cannot die on the eve of your death. The day before is still a day.
And what's the name of Monica Bravo's beautiful artwork? It doesn't really translate right in Google, but the word death is there, or dies. I'm not surprised, are you?
September 10th, 2001. It's really critical to reset us back to that date.
I don't really know what that means. Levette talks about it. One of their main goals, this control structure, is to reset time or to hold on to an era that's trying to move forward. They are desperately trying to hold on to the old ways or their old roots of power. There's the creepy curator of the 9/11 museum upcoming. The only surviving window pane from the Twin Towers. There's no pane of glass that could have possibly survived that. Total bullshit. Thanks for watching, guys. Anybody want to hang out for 5 or 10 more minutes? I want to say a few important things about this type of exercise. In the old days, it would be done to expose the official story, and we'd get angry at the system and create negative energy, and we just can't afford to do that anymore. Even if they don't feed on it, we just have to assume they may feed on it, or they might, and we can't do it. So this type of exercise has to be an educational exercise into trying to get to the bottom of the nature of reality itself. And whenever I do this, there's so much synchronicity. It always relates or gives me additional evidence that this is some sort of matrix, simulation, illusion. I'm not, obviously, if you're Mandela affected, you absolutely believe that. I'm not going to bring that into this conversation. But for those that poo-poo that idea, we had the mayor candidate, the candidate for mayor on the Democrat side, Green, who, to this day, I'm sure he's completely shafted, because he would have been mayor of New York City if it wasn't for September 11th and everybody turned conservative and you got to go get the jihadis. So then Giuliani then pushed Bloomberg and screwed Green. But you see, I showed you here the day before, he's talking about the Twin Towers of his candidacy. Again, the Twin Towers are world famous today because of what happened on 9/11. Yeah, they were known, but they weren't like the Eiffel Tower. Again, you have to realize they were not nearly as famous as the Empire State Building. They were featured prominently in one movie, the 1970 whatever Jeff Bridges King Kong remake. They weren't world famous like the Taj Mahal. They are now because of what happened. So it's odd. For the Twin Towers of my candidacy, fine. I'm going to call that synchronicity. But the big one is when he says ground zero. I mentioned it in what I said earlier. Nobody said that word. Of course, it rolls off our tongue now. All we heard for 15 years is ground zero, ground zero, ground zero, ground zero. But you have to realize nobody used that word before 9/11. 9/11 made that word what it was. Like, let's say, have you ever heard the word Pearl Harbor before 1941? Nobody, you might know of some base, but you would have never, it's a little bit different. It's not a great analogy, but it's an old term that has to do with a nuclear bomb blast. Nobody used it. So for him to say Twin Towers and then the day before ground zero, no, but the thing is, I don't think, he's not in on it. It's this weird cosmic synchronicity. He didn't get a call from the Rockefellers that said, we want you to say a few things in just the right way today and don't ask questions while we're telling you to say this. Okay, sir. No, I don't. I agree more with like that Barely Human whatever channel, the YouTube channel that put together the video. Amazing stuff. One of the greatest videos on YouTube ever, in my opinion. Back to the Future predicts 9/11. They talk about synchronicities. And Robert Zemeckis, who made Back to the Future, he wasn't in on it. Nobody called in 15 years before and said, we want you to insert some Twin Towers stuff, and when Marty, skates to the mall, we want you to make the Twin Pines into the Lone Pine and put in an inverted 911. And Robert Zemeckis replied back to Mr. Rothschild, well, why should I do that? Well, don't ask questions if you want your funding. It doesn't go down like that, this reality. We know it doesn't. So, Barely Human or whatever would probably agree with me in this regard. It's almost obvious now that there is no time. I mean, there's no past, present, future. It all depends on, the record player analogy, the needle of observation as it's dropped on the record. All the songs are there laid down together. It's just where you put, there is no song 1 or song 6 on side A. It's just where you drop the needle. So all of time is likely laid down, and this is a needle of observation. What I'm talking into the little light on my Mac right now. But that being said, if the past or what we're doing now can influence the future, of course it does. If I slash myself with my thumbnail like a professional wrestler would, I'm going to bleed. Why can't it go the other way? And that's what that Barely Human channel would probably say about Robert Zemeckis and Back to the Future, or what I'm saying about this candidate saying Ground Zero or Twin Towers. The past could potentially, if there's no such thing as past, present, and future, could resonate. I mean, the future could resonate back through the past. I don't think, again, he's not in on it. So that all of these synchronicities, she says, the news reporter says that tonight we had thunderstorms on 9/10/2001. 2 buildings were struck by lightning. So whoever writes the little teleprompter for this little 2-bit local news anchor got a call from the Rothschilds and just said, here's what you have to say. And no, it just can't go down that way. Well, maybe it can, but it doesn't go down in that way, in my opinion. But also, in the same vein, it's no coincidence that she said 2 buildings got struck by lightning. So it all goes back to, why I don't spend hours and hours and hours trying to figure out flat globe. I don't care how real things are. This is some sort of simulation, illusion. Time doesn't exist. Time, space are one. Time, space, time. So space, if time doesn't exist, space doesn't exist. I don't care if I think this is a sim about the exact shape of the Earth, because it probably can change on the fly. Probably can show both sides what it wants to see at the same time. So, there's just, in these types of things, is everybody in on it? What about the guy, the bartender? Seemed like a decent guy. Immediately he's talking about 2 spirits in the 2 spirits dancing together. I mean, of course, if a newbie came across this video, they're going to think I'm out of my mind. But to anybody that's been studying reality for a little tiny bit, knows that that's no coincidence. He's talking about 2 spirits dancing together in the beginning of a 9/11 documentary. 2 spirits of Twin Towers dancing. I mean, come on. You get into the Lord of the Rings, the 2 towers. This isn't all coincidence. But what you think reality is depends on how you would answer this question. How do these coincidences and synchronicities occur? Somebody that's just concerned about how flat the Earth is would have to say that everybody is getting a phone call. The local 2-bit news anchor who said 2 towers were struck by lightning the day before. It's not a coincidence. It's almost like the future breathing itself into the now of that moment, or to us now, the future breathing itself or resonating back into the past. Did it make her say that? Did it make 2 buildings actually got struck by lightning because of what would happen the next day? So she was just reporting about what actually happened. But how did it actually happen? So it's not, somebody that's just concerned about how level the Earth is would have to explain. I'm not going out of my way to pick on these people because I've told you my position. NASA lies about everything. You know, I get trashed, and I get trashed by the Flat Earth group a lot. I'm still willing to say NASA has lied to us about pretty much everything, but that's not going far enough. I would say nobody went to the moon. There is no ISS. Nobody goes into space, but that's not good enough if I don't proclaim allegiance to the flat religion. But I'm saying is, you see what I'm saying? They would have to say, if everything's completely real, there are no synchronicities. There is no future influencing or affecting or coming back through the past. Everything's completely real. There is no nature to this reality that all relates to a simulation, a matrix, a hologram. So everybody's in on it. You know, the woman that gave the fake story about he just looked out over the plains. Yeah, I think it's just some two-bit floozy that got, they paid her some money and she just came up with we want you to give a bullshit story. And she's probably not even a bad person. They can get in your head, man. They could say to her, look, I know you didn't see him. We know you were there that morning. We know you didn't see Muhammad Atta. But look, the more we get people concerned about terrorism using this type of documentary, the more we can prevent it from happening in the future. She could have gone along with their story, still 100% believing that Muhammad Atta took over those planes and everything about the official story is real. So it doesn't make her, she's not evil to the 10th level, even though she's lying. Doesn't mean she knows there were no hijackers and no box cutters. They easily just say, look, we know you were there that morning. We know Muhammad Atta was somewhere. We need you to do this for the sake of the documentary. This will save lives. The men in black sitting around her. Think she's going to, and by the way, we have a nice $5,000 tax-free gift for you. And she'll do it, and she won't think she's lying. They will have convinced her that her participation in the manipulation is not only warranted, but a good thing for us, a good thing for national security, a good thing for humanity. So she's just dumb, the people that go along. A lot of these crisis actors, I think, are sucked in the same way. A lot of these crisis actors for the Bang Bang events, they believe wholeheartedly in that guns will eventually kill millions. Oh, look what's I'm trying to think of some of the names, like Christopher Hansen or I don't know, like Robbie Parker or some of these people are just scumbag, soulless human beings that probably do it for money. But others probably say, look, you want guns out of the hands of just any old person, right? And they're believers. And they'll say, yeah. Say, look, we need to stage this event. We need your help. In the end, this will save lives. Even though we're lying to the American public, think of the lives that you'll be saving when eventually we pass the gun legislation. I think they get people in like that. I really do. Not just out to screw people in I think a lot of them believe they're doing the right thing. Or else there couldn't be so many first responders involved and police and firefighters involved. And maybe that to a degree, although it was after a lot of these events, maybe that was a big part of what Jade Helm was about. I don't know. But anyway, interesting, guys. We just, when I do an exercise like this, it takes me one step closer that they can't pull off all the events and then code them and then gematria them and then have people crisis actors faking the event after the fact and have all that run smoothly and nothing ever bites them in the ass. It's some sort of matrix field simulation. I don't know. But there's, like Insanity Channel said a long time ago, there's no way just a group of regular old men, regular old evil white men, bankers in back rooms are pulling this off time after time after time. And anybody right now is saying, well, Matt, look how sloppy they are. You yourself said they put an inflated tire on the street below the Trade Center. Well, yeah, but they are not mistakes. They're there on purpose to see who notices. Ultimately, because 99 point whatever percent of the population doesn't notice and goes along with it, then I forgot my train of thought. Let me back up then. The mistakes are put so people like us notice them. I would say because 99 point whatever percent of the population believe it all, then they're successful. Even though to us it seems like they're making a ton of mistakes. Well, everybody down your block thinks it really happened, so they pulled it off successfully. They did. And we're so conditioned to walk on eggshells when people like me make these videos. When we say 99%, God forbid we say the 0.9, because then we have, you know what happens. Oh, I believed everything he said, but then he just dropped a 666. So we walk, and nobody scratches their eye anymore either. I won't dare scratch my eye during one of these videos. I'm afraid to scratch my nose for fear of somebody's I'm gonna get a litany of comments that it's some sort of symbolism. Anyway, actually, I should scratch my eye, because the dummies that would comment on that are people that I want off the channel. Thanks, guys.